Declare open this public hearing of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Public Works for the inquiry into Services Australia, proposed fit-out of leased premises at 90 Crown Street, Wollongong, New South Wales. The committee's role, as defined in the Public Works Committee Act 1969, is to consider and report on the purpose and need for the proposed works, the most effective use of public money that can be made in carrying out the works, and the present and prospective public value of the proposed works. In accordance with the Committee's resolution of the 31st of July 2025, this hearing will be broadcast on the Parliament's website, and the proof and official transcripts of proceedings will be published on the Parliament's website. I also remind members of the media who may be present or listening on the web of the need to fairly and accurately report the proceedings of the committee. I'm Tony Zappia, the Chair of the Committee. To my left is Mr David Smith, the member for Bean, and to my further left, Senator Josh Daliga. And online we have Tracy.
Tanya Lawrence.
The member for Hasluck. I'm sorry, I just went blank for a moment. Tanya Lawrence, the member for Hasluck. With that, could I just mention to members that are on chorus call that I remind the committee of members participating on the video conference or chorus call to mute their microphones when not speaking. And if on chorus call, to give their name each time they speak to assist witnesses and Hansard. I now call witnesses or representatives from Services Australia to give evidence for the Hansard record. Would you please each state your full name and the capacity in which you appear before the committee?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Stuart Brasendale, National Manager of Property and Corporate Support Branch for Services Australia, and I'm the agency's lead witness for today's hearing. I'll ask the other agencies to introduce themselves.
Ms Melissa Felton, Director Property Optimisation Services Australia.
Mr Grant Milthorpe from Concha, the agency's Project Manager.
Mr Benjamin Jones, Capital Projects Director for Services Australia.
Mr Matt Figgis, Turner and Townsend, Director, Quantity Surveyor.
Although the committee doesn't require you to give evidence under oath, I should advise you that these hearings are formal proceedings of the Parliament. Consequently, they warrant the same respect as proceedings of the Parliament itself. Giving false or misleading evidence is a serious matter and may be regarded as contempt of Parliament. I now invite you to make some brief introductory remarks before we proceed to questions. So you might want to just give us a bit of a brief overview of the project.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Committee. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, their cultures and to their elders, past, present and emerging. This project will provide fit-for-purpose office accommodation and is the key project supporting the consolidation of 4 of the agency's Illawarra corporate sites into one by 2027. This proposal is in accordance with the Commonwealth leasing strategy. The scope includes a fit-out providing 7,890 square metres of office space to accommodate approximately 800 staff. The expiring Illawarra leases currently occupied by the agency do not align with sustainability targets or modern work practices. The proposed new fit-out at 90 Crown Street, Wollongong will address these issues, as well as providing for future flexibility. The estimated total budget for the project is $22.34 million, comprising of $1.2 million for development and $21.22 million for delivery. The project's construction will be managed by a head contractor and will encourage local industry participation in accordance with the Commonwealth procurement requirements. Engagement with local stakeholders has occurred as required throughout the project's development phase. Internal agency consultation has commenced with executives, staff and the union, and additional information sessions and visual design briefs will be available to staff on a for information basis. Subject to parliamentary approval and concurrent documentation, construction activities are forecast to commence in March 2026 with various completion dates. Due to the staged construction program expected between June 26 and March 27. Chair, thank you for the opportunity to present. That concludes my opening statement.
Mr Brasendale, thank you very much. So I'll go straight into questions. Tanya, did you want to go first, given that you didn't get the call in the first round?
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you, Chair. I'm just from the private briefing. I'm pretty okay at the moment, but I may have some questions just a bit later on.
No problems. And Mr Moroso, thank you for the briefing from yourself and your team just before we went into the public hearing, which probably answered most of the questions that we would have. But in order to put them on the public record, I'm going to repeat a couple of them, and that way anyone listening to this proceedings will understand where we're coming from. You're amalgamating 5 sites or staff from 5 sites predominantly into the Crown Street site. Why was the Crown Street site chosen as the place that you would consolidate to?
Thank you, Chair. I might ask our Director of Property Optimisation to give a detailed response, but yes, we worked with our independent property service provider to reach out into the market to understand or to request interested parties to meet the agency's needs. There was a number of those, number of properties which were shortlisted, and then we worked through that process and landed on 90 Crown Street. But I'll let Ms Felton explain the process.
Thank you, Mr Brasendale. As mentioned, the agency engaged JLL to undertake a detailed approach to market within the Illawarra region. We started with an expression of interest in mid-2023. Following the evaluation and site inspections that were undertaken of 5 respondent sites. Can
I stop you there? Were they all in Wollongong?
Yes.
Okay.
3 sites were then shortlisted to the request for proposal stage. 90 Crown Street was considered the preferred respondent offering best value for money, and the assessment was based on building, tenancy, location, financial performance, environmental performance and timing.
And with respect to the site, to the Crown Street site, is there opportunity for growth in that site in future if the need arises?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've specifically designed the site to be a flexible working environment, which gives us capacity to house a higher number of staff than what we currently have there. So at the moment, as I mentioned, we've got around 800 staff there. 628 work points will be in the area, plus a number of collaboration and additional workspaces on top of that. That starts at a 8 workstations to 10 people ratio. We've got capacity with a higher number of lockers than that, up to expand out to a 6 workstations to 10 ratio. So yes, we've certainly built it with in mind to enable the agency to surge additional resources into the Wollongong area should we need to.
Okay. I'll hand over to my colleagues if they've got any questions. Josh or David, do either of you have any questions?
I'm okay, Chair.
Just for some of them for the public record that we were talking about before as well. With the fit outs and that you're doing, what's the staff feedback been from the people in Dapto that have to move up to Wollongong, and also what's been the feedback of Wollongong staff? Thanks,
Senator. Yes, we've been working with people across the Illawarra area for quite some time. They've known this project is been planned, so it's not it's been known for quite an extended period now. And over the last many months, we've established a range of working groups and consultative committees to gather feedback and help manage the change. Yes, look, some people in Dapto, of course, have expressed some level of concern about having to travel up to Wollongong, we'll support them as best we can, and the agency has individual flexible working arrangements, and they can have those discussions with leaders as we need. People in Wollongong largely, really excited to get a new site. We've had a number of new sites come online within the agency, most recently in Brisbane, and so people have talked to their colleagues and they're excited about what we've been able to deliver up there and are hoping for a similar outcome in Illawarra. So largely the feedback's been really positive.
And with the staff in the Illawarra area, how many staff would you say? Do you guys know a percentage? Like what sort of staff? Many staff are using flexible work arrangements at the moment?
Yeah, we do. I haven't got the exact detail on complete flexible work arrangements, Senator, but across the agency we have about 38% of our staff that have some form of work from home arrangement, and in the Illawarra region it's similar, it's just around 37%. Yeah.
And with and the public, as a result of these site amalgamations to Crown Street, they can be certain that the service centres in the existing areas, they are still going to be providing services to the community. There's no changes to those
Absolutely.
arrangements.
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That's for sure. So the 3 service centres in the Greater Illawarra region retain. That is at Borelli Street, Barn Street, and at Shell Harbour. So yeah, we've absolutely committed to retaining the 318 service centres all around the country, and no different in Illawarra.
And can you tell the committee how a consultation for a piece of work like this it goes with workers, with health and safety reps, with CPSU reps? How does the agency engage, and how do you bring staff in and give them an opportunity to influence and to make these proposals better with their feedback? Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. I'll start, then I'll hand to Mr Jones to provide a little bit more information around the specifics of our design fit-outs. But I can talk to you specifically in the Illawarra area. We establish working groups and site leadership groups, which has a range of different levels of staff, including CPSU reps and HSRs. And then we engage with them regularly to have two-way feedback around how help us manage the change, help us with communication. We've really engaged with them early in Illawarra, proactively met with the union as well to make sure that they're aware of what we're planning and receive their feedback so that we can it will help us manage through the change. With regard to the specific design, I'll let Mr Jones explain further, but yes, we've got a agency design fit-out that is evolving as we continue to utilise it in new buildings. Yeah. And each time we do that, we get input into the design, and we also get post fit-out feedback around what's working, what's not, and so that's an iterative process. So I'll hand to Mr Jones to provide perhaps a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Mr Brasendale. So Benjamin Jones, Capital Works Director, Services Australia. So absolutely, Mr Brasendale touched on several great points to do with how the fit-out design is worked through. So we do a staged approach too, with consultation on the actual design, where we go out to the stakeholders. Yep. We do seek user requirements of any specialised requirements they need. Now in Illawarra, there actually is very limited specific requirements, unlike some of our other sites that might have those higher zone requirements or specialised areas. So from that consultation perspective, it got covered off quite well. The actual design is built from a kit of parts that's been proven and established through our other designs and through several hundred hours now of post-implementation reviews out of Brisbane Precinct, where we've just managed to bring it down to a light touch. So where the site is getting that new, refreshed look, but with sustainable, usable products that will last the length of time for us. On the other aspect as well, when we're talking about consultation with HSRs and those sort of items, every piece of furniture inside the fit-out and the design, it does go through that process as well. So whereas it might not be specific to that site for certain aspects, down to even the chairs, we brought in consultations from Melbourne University to look at every aspect to achieve as high a percentage of what could be covered for people with mobility concerns and those sort of aspects. So we have tried to individually do that. Where a new piece of furniture is being brought into the agency, we do allow people to visually see it first, test it and speak to it. It might not be site specific because the level of sites we have, but where it is expected to be rolled out, we do have a lot of consultation involved in that.
And with the multiple floors that you'll be operating on, some of the other agencies we spoke to have been talking about neighbourhoods. So would workers who are doing, say, smart telephony work, they will be sort of on the same floor in the same region, will they?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Senator. That's the same language we use, is neighbourhoods within our sites and within floors, where we might have our child support people, our Centrelink telephony people, et cetera, et cetera. We group them together in sensible areas, and we align those people where it makes sense for them to be aligned with one another. So we use those neighbourhoods approaches, and again, that gives us that flexibility to flex in and out around numbers on any given day.
And in the presentation, in the briefing, we were looking at we were talking about the lighting and things like that, and lighting being tailored, and you know, I think of different zones of lighting for certain needs. And is there a sound and like between the desks? Is there an ability to have sound? So if somebody's on a phone along a line, if there's 3 people on the phones, do they have soundproofing between them?
Look, I'll let Mr Jones talk to that, but just to the first point around lighting and I guess different zones, yes, I think as we mentioned, there's different workspaces. So there is those areas where we've got a range of workstations, might be people on telephony doing processing or other types of work. We've got open and closed collaboration spaces, which are more sort of, I guess, free open areas where people can either be working individually or as working collaboratively. We have a range of different sized meeting rooms and focus rooms where people can go into an area where they need a quiet area, whether that's to do quiet work or whether that's to reflect and spend a bit of time to do perhaps decompress after a challenging interaction with customers. So we've got all those built into the design. I'll let Mr Jones talk about the specifics of the lighting options.
Thanks, Mr Brasendale. So yeah, we do have several different spaces. All workstations aren't the same throughout the fit out as well. So some have different levels of acoustic properties because not all staff want that level. They also have different level of visual properties for security if people can witness onto them. There's a number of focus rooms throughout the site that allow for people with neurodiversity that might need to go in there with migraines to save them going from home. So it's all dimmable lighting. Yep. They're able to do that, and they all have acoustic properties at a higher level. So depending on the requirement in the space, we don't apply the same acoustic requirement everywhere because the cost would go astronomically up. But we do allow movement of that. The ability that people can book those different spaces really frees up the ability without lifting the cost.
Excellent. That's all for me, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. I understand the distance between Dapto and Wollongong is about 14 kilometres and about 20 minutes or so driving. Are any of the current staff that are working in Dapto not going to transfer across because of the distance? In other words, is there going to be a staff lost as a result of the relocation?
Not that I'm aware of, Chair. So I couldn't speak to every single staff member, but there's certainly nothing that's been raised with me suggesting that there's a, either individuals or a number of staff that are, significantly protesting and leaving. I haven't heard that, so our expectation is that they would be moving to Crown Street, and our leaders would be working with them now if they've got individual concerns. We've got individual flexible workplace arrangements in place, which means that we can work with individuals that might have specific needs to make sure we can tailor their work as much as practical and balance it with our agency business needs. But I would note too that that is the smaller proportion of staff in the Illawarra area. We've got 600 or a bit more already in Borrella and Crown Street, so it's a smaller proportion that have to do that extra travel. And of course I don't know where all those individuals live. For some, perhaps Wollongong's closer than Dapto. I'm not sure.
And getting back to the designs, now Services Australia has offices across the country. Is there a consistency in the designs of all the Services Australia offices? In other words, do you use a template that could be applied across all of your locations, albeit that there will of course have to be some tailoring of each office based on the layout of the floor area, the entranceways and so on?
Yeah. Look, we're certainly trying to work that way to get the most cost efficiency, and I'll ask Mr Jones to explain more. But of course we do have varying types of accommodation. We have our customer facing service centres, and we absolutely have some strategies around how we're rolling those out nationally. What we're talking about here today is our more back-of-house corporate environments. Right. And yes, we do have a design fit-out that we are now utilising when we redesign back-of-house areas. But I'll ask Mr Jones to perhaps add anything further to that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr Brasendale. So after the last several years, we have developed a kit of parts and a very specific design brief that is being shared with other agencies. It highlights how each of those kits are put together, how they're constructed, soundproofing, audible requirements, people for neurodiverse. It's very, very detailed to where we're trying to get it to a really cost-effective solution with that lighter touch, but providing a better outcome for staff. So there's several hundred pages of different aspects of what we've considered into that design, not just from look and feel, but also from a DDA perspective for Disability Discrimination Act, heights of benches, longevity, compression of laminexes down to every sort of aspect we could achieve.
How long have you had that documentation for?
This documentation has been iterations over the last 3 years now, learning from the post-implementation reviews of all the sites as we're going through them. So with the last series of precincts, and especially coming off the back of Brisbane, the huge amount of post-implementation reviews has really given us that ability to really narrow down the kit parts. And it doesn't cover additional specialised places like Zone 3 and 4 aspects, specialised mail rooms that might still be utilised, but it does cover probably 95% of our back-of-house office requirements.
Okay. And I was going to ask this in the in-camera hearing, but I'll ask it now because it's not to do with the cost, but rather the certainty of service. I note that the lease for this location is for, I think it's 10 years plus 3, which is relatively short. It's only 16 years. How confident are you of the location being secured for beyond the 16 years of the lease period? Or is that really an unknown?
Yeah, look, Chair, I think it's obviously unknown that far out, but we're comfortable that the lease period of 10 years with options of 2 lots of 3 years is absolutely adequate for our current needs, and between now and then gives us plenty of time to reassess what we might need and make some further decisions. But as I discussed in our earlier session, Illawarra is absolutely critical region for the agency and has a high number of really important customer service delivery teams, and it's a great area for our agency that has people that often have long tenures with the agency, and it's also been a really effective area if we need to recruit people. It gives us great numbers of applicants to choose from when we're needing to bring in new people. So we're committed to the Illawarra area, and yeah, we think that the 10 years with 2 lots of 3 is absolutely adequate for us to for the foreseeable future, and gives us plenty of time to assess any changes that might happen between now and then.
Was there and I'll use the word government service at 90 Crown Street before Services Australia took it over? Do you know? Or is it a new building? Again, I'm not familiar with the location.
My memory only takes me back to about 18 years, and as long as that's been our child support site has been on the first 3 floors there. I'm not sure. Yeah. My memory doesn't go back further than that. Yeah. So and I think on the top 3 floors we had it was the New South Wales government, state government were in the top 3 floors. So yeah. But so, I don't have the details.
So the building's been there for some time by the sound of it.
I believe so. Yeah. I'm not sure at what age it was built. Do you have that? No.
All right, well, I don't know that I've got any other questions, so unless any of my colleagues have any questions, David, Josh, do you have anything?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, just briefly, federal state members briefed. Any views?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We sent a letter out to all Commonwealth, state, local members as well as the local Chamber of Commerce, and we offered briefings. So it was really an FYI. This is what we're doing. We haven't had any feedback, but I guess that's not particularly unusual in this scenario where we made it clear that there's no change to our customer-facing service, and when those things are typically when the local members have a bit more to say. But this one is really about letting them know that we're committed in staying in Wollongong. There's going to be some works happening there, which is, we hope, going to create a little bit of local job opportunity and economic activity in the area based on the back of the build.
Well, if they were concerned, they are actually neighbours, pretty much. They've both got their electorate offices on Crown Street, so I imagine they're probably reasonably happy.
The back of office staff, do any of them ever get rotated to work in the front office?
Yes, yeah. for sure. We have a lot of mobility across different areas, but the majority of our staff come in as service delivery staff, typically either into a front of house role or a back of house role doing telephony and processing work for Centrelink, Medicare or child support. But it's quite common that people move through those different areas. In fact, as an agency, we really encourage that because it gives a great richness of understanding for our staff and really, sets people up well to progress their career into leadership or other sort of specialist roles.
Thank you. All right, well, with that, I thank you all for your attendance today. If the committee has any further questions, they'll be put to you in writing, and you will be sent a copy of the transcript of your evidence to the committee. If you feel you need to make some changes to that, again, contact the Secretariat and do so. With that, I declare this public hearing closed. We will go into an in-camera hearing shortly, but we'll have to clear the room to do